Lake Valley, New Mexico is a once thriving mine town that turned ghost town and today just sits completely abandoned in southern New Mexico, about an hour and 10 minutes north of Las Cruces, and maybe not too far away from Hatch, New Mexico either. We're going to be exploring the abandoned ruins left behind by the people that used to live there during its heyday. And this right here, it looks like it's going to be an old Conoco station. I don't know what else it might have been used for, basing the fact that the sign said Conoco on it. This is not what I'm used to thinking of Conoco stations looking like. Unfortunately, we got there and discovered that due to staffing shortages, there were no caretakers or anybody on site. However, it did say that we can actually use the trails and look around, so that's what we did. It's pretty cool when you find out that a lot of the buildings that used to be here were built with adobe and then facaded over with wood to make it look like a typical western town. Now this safe, I wish there was more information about that safe, so if that was used in a bank or what it was. And this wall to what? I have no idea. No information about it. But if you look around, you can see where buildings used to be, and you can see debris, lumber, just things left there, they left to rot. And you can almost imagine in your mind's eye, what it must have looked like when this place was alive and well. Most of the original structures no longer exist. In fact, some of them were destroyed by fire and just being reclaimed and who knows what. Throughout Lake Valley, the Bureau of Land Management has put up a bunch of signs that give you some information about what kind of history went on there and about what life might have been like. So as we walk along, we can see some houses here. I remember last time I was here, I did run into the caretaker, who there was no caretaker at the time I was out here, and I could have swore he told me that that was one of the last houses that were abandoned in Lake Valley, but I could be wrong because this was several years ago, last time I was here. And the reason why it says censored there is because the person I was with doesn't want to be on YouTube. During the entire time that the person I was with and I were here, we never once saw anybody out here besides ourselves. We did find a guest sign-in book, and there was one other visitor that had been by earlier that morning. I think it's interesting how it still says private property. Although I'm pretty sure that's probably owned by the Bureau of Land Management is my guess. And here's a restored building. Last time I was here, I remember this building was falling apart. Unfortunately, all the restored buildings were locked up. And I remember last time I was allowed in there by the caretaker to see some of it, but unfortunately there's nobody there to let us in. So the schoolhouse, the chapel, whatever that building is, were off limits when I was there. And I noticed that there was game cameras set up strategically in certain spots. So I guess somebody's still kind of keeping an eye on this place. And I could have swore a lot of that rock wall was knocked down last time, so it looks like it may have been rebuilt. This is the chapel that I was talking about. This is the best I was able to do, was just look through the windows and put the camera there. Sorry about that. But I guess it's better than nothing. So we're going to move over a little bit closer to an area where the mining actually happened. The area was mined for mainly silver. And also something, I don't know if I'm saying it right, called manganese, I think is what it said on the signs. And it was meant for high quality steel. But the silver was the biggest thing. A lot of the silver came from an area called the Bridal Chamber. Bridal Chamber was named after the way light had reflected off of the inside of the mine. And there in the top left, you can see what looks like a mine, I'm assuming. There's a picture of it. It would have been interesting to be able to go in there, but it looked like it was fenced off, so I'm assuming they don't want people in there. And there was also another sign that for another mine, I don't know if it was part of the same mine or what the story is, but you'll see that coming up in the video in a little bit. I just think these towers are really cool. It's too bad more of the buildings didn't survive, but at least they put a nice place for you to sit. And I don't know if there's any plans to restore all these other buildings. I'm kind of wondering if that's the goal, because look at the roof here. It looked like some of that wood up there is a little bit more recent. So it'd be interesting, maybe come back in a few years and see what's the same, what's different. And there's going to be some buildings and some things that are just completely collapsed and just in rubbish. This whole time we are just walking along trails, and we're trying to be respectful and not get too far off the trails. If you do me a favor and just hit that subscribe button. Wonder how long that 7-Up bottle was there. So there's even trash laying around this place from way back when. And a little bit about the history, established in 1882, another bench. So we're going to go on to another area. Now, from what I understood, the signs, a lot of this area we're walking through, that used to be densely populated with tons of buildings back in the day. You can see some old wallpaper and antiques in there. I don't know, this is just really neat, but again, you can also look up and see some of the wood in the ceiling looks a little bit newer. So I don't know if this is going to be completely restored or not. It'd be kind of neat if it was, and hopefully they can get a caretaker out there sometime, or somebody that can actually open up these buildings and let people take a look around one day. If you ever go out there and you see that this place looks different than what you see in this video, do me a favor and mention in the comments what's changed. This being a desert and fairly dry, the nice thing about this place is that it does preserve wood and metal better than what it would in a lot of places. Also, if you could do me a favor and hit that like button too. If I can't get a subscribe for you, at least give me a like. One thing I noticed is that this old car gets photographed a lot. If you look online about information about Lake Valley, you'll see pictures of this car often mentioned or often photographed on there. And if anybody knows what kind of car that is, please leave a note in the comments, because I would like to know what that thing is. I'm going to give you some better views, so if you can't tell from that, you know a lot about cars, maybe you'll be able to figure it out. And I remember this car was here last time I was here years ago, and it was a mess back then too. Just weird how the engine is just sitting right next to it, almost like somebody was about to work on the car and then just left it here. Suicide doors. I'm sure that car was real beautiful at one time. These cans here, I do remember a caretaker from last time. This kind of stood out in my memory. These, back in that area, there wasn't exactly trash service and landfill, so the locals tended to burn their trash. However, certain things like these tin cans wouldn't burn, so some of those tin cans have been there for decades, if not a century. And their pile just goes deep out into the desert. This is area kind of fenced off that we're coming up on. You know, I don't know what that is there. Where it warns about an open mine shaft. So I don't know which mine was used for what, but you know, it just is interesting. And I didn't try to go past any of the fences. Some sort of pulley lever, or pulley, I guess. So it looks like they were somewhat restored, this building. I like this old electrical box here. Assuming that must have been one of the last buildings abandoned from Lake Valley. Also, since they had electricity there at one point. Yeah. I'm not actually inside the building. I'm just looking through a window, basically into somebody's living room that looks like the ceiling at least was restored. I wonder if they're planning on doing more. Maybe we can see what it looked like back in the day. It'll be interesting if they are restoring it to see what it looks like again in a few years from now. And I'm assuming that used to be a washing machine or part of one. This building I remember was standing last time I was here, but it was in really bad shape. And looks like it collapsed. I think it was a hardware store. What I'm getting the idea that might have been a hardware store is because there was some shelves in there. It's going to be, you're probably going to be able to see it here a little bit better in a few minutes. And it looked like there was nails or other items that might have been used there, like more hardware type repair items. But if you can tell it was something else or you have a different theory, just let me know in the comments what you think it was used for. There you go. If you can see the shelf there, you can see some old nails in there. But again, that's just a guess. This area right here on the left-hand side, that's where the caretaker used to have a trailer. So if you could do me a favor, let me know so far what you think of the video. If you have any feedback, good or bad, just let me know. It looks like there's bathrooms there too. Bathrooms were locked up when I was there. So anybody wants a job as a caretaker, there you go. You can maybe apply with the Bureau of Land Management. This building here is an old schoolhouse. This building was open last time I was here, and we were able to go inside and look around, and it was a restored schoolhouse to make it look like it may have looked, before the town was abandoned. And so I remember I really enjoyed being in there. I'm very disappointed that it's locked up and we can't get in there. And I did notice a game camera right in front of the door there too. So anyway, let me know what you think in the comments. If you like and subscribe if you haven't already done so. And please consider checking out one of these other videos that are going to be popping up at the screen. And if you want to see more videos about Southern New Mexico, hit that Traveling Las Cruces or Traveling New Mexico link.